Hey, Gary here. Welcome to BookMob episode 95, I think it is. And today I'm going to do a quick review of Benjamin Myres' new novel, Jesus Christ Kinski. Anyway, if you don't know who Klaus Kinski is, well, I guess it matters if you need some background information on reading this book. Ultimately, if I'm talking to someone who knows who Klaus Kinski is, and in the author Benjamin Myres has taken an episode out of his life back in 1971 when Klaus Kinski, who made hundreds of films, as not always as a star, but as a bit actor, he just kept working and working and working. And he originally came from the stage, and he was doing this tour about Jesus Christ. It was in Berlin, and there was a famous video. You can look it up. It is available on YouTube somewhere. Just look up Klaus Kinski, Jesus, Berlin, 1971, I think it is. And anyway, Benjamin Myres wrote this novel during the initial lockdowns whilst living in the UK. And I read it like in one or two sittings. It's a book that you can just peel through. It's got a filmic sense to it as well, the way it's written. Even I'm talking about the layout and the fonts, and there are photographs. And again, this is a biographical fiction because Myres himself is the lost author trying to come to terms with COVID isolation. And in the story, the narrator or the writer, who doesn't necessarily have to be Benjamin Myres, basically talks to you, the reader, and he gives you this background into Klaus Kinski. And again, I grew up with Klaus Kinski. I knew him from many big great movies, but also from some brilliant movies like Fitzcarraldo and Aguirre, Wrath of God. So he does have international fame, but he was also well known for being a complete and utter insane, lunatic, mad person who just I don't know, I guess maybe his ego. I think when someone pays you to do things like acting, and you have a constant you're surrounded by people who will just do whatever you say and give you the answers you need to hear, I think that can affect the brain. And in some cases, when he came across this theatre audience who weren't going to take any of this prima donna shit. And so it's an interesting tale. It's kind of broken up into spaces between the author looking at this video, and then him using Kinski's performance as a way to narrate from Kinski's mind. And then we go back to the author who is wandering the moors or wherever he is, just trying to get out and do his exercise, and how he's trying to come to terms with what can he write about this novel. So it's not a narrative beginning, middle, and end. It's interesting. It's not for everyone, though it is easy to read and to enjoy. So like if you're going on a 5-hour flight, I reckon this will be perfect. It's very, very accessible. And and the good thing about today is that anything you want to know about someone or a subject or a personality, you just have to look it up. I know that sometimes can spoil the mystery, but sometimes you need the mystery a bit revealed for you to enjoy what the author is trying to say. I think that he mentions the author, not the author himself, but the person the writer who's writing this book, who's not Benjamin Myres, but could be. He's struggling also with the idea that his publishers and his agent don't really want him to write this book because they can't see a market for it. And I get that. I do understand that. I can see why they would say, nah, leave this book alone. But I don't know how well it's done. It's easily read. It is entertaining for me because it did remind me of some of the my own reactions when I used to watch Kinski. I would watch a movie even if Kinski was in it for 20 seconds. I don't know what it was, but I was a kid of the 70s, and he appeared in so many movies, and he had this really unique sort of spiteful maniac look about him, and I think I was attracted to that part of him, like he was just about to burst and blow up. And I think he took his life from the cinema and the theater, and in some ways engaged with that personality in the real life. And he had trouble with his daughters. Natasha Kinski is one of his daughters. She's a well-known Hollywood actress. Hasn't worked a lot in the last couple of years, but she was huge as well, probably in the 90s and into the 2000s. But essentially, this book is talking about a madman on stage, talking about Jesus and getting feedback from the audience, and that feedback doesn't go well with Klaus Kinski's worldview on who and what is beautiful and brilliant. So a good novel. Again, I mean, look at that picture. It tells a lot, doesn't it? Anyway, I've just almost finished the second volume of The Persian Boy by Mary Renault, who wrote a 3-volume biographical history, narrative history. It's not a history book, it's a novel, sorry, on Alexander the Great. And this is a great story, couldn't put it down. And now I'm looking forward to reading number 3. All right, that's it for this week. Hopefully I'll have a new one out soon. Other than reading Mary Reynolds' books, I'm trying to get more copies of Dungeon Crawler series, but they're just not available at the bookstores at the moment. All right, thanks. Keep reading, buy books, read books, borrow books, steal books. Bye.